Six Pack Lapadat. This is the women's recap show. We got Amelia Potter, Adriena Davis, Sophia Ellis, and we're back at it. This Worlds was freaking wild. It had surprises, upsets, battles, and some interesting results. Some interesting results. We'll get into it. We'll start like we always do at the 47s, and we'll work our way up. In the 47s, what can you say? Tiffany Chapon, Turbo Tiff, four open world titles and still a junior. How does that even let that sink in? I don't know if I can't think of a single other person who has four open world titles as a junior. It's crazy. Um, Absolutely dominant. I'll pull up the just pulling up the detailed results here. But so Tiffany ends up with 433 and Jessica Espinal with 415 and Aurélie from Canada at 495. Aurélie was injured. She's usually pulling into around the 200 kilo range and ended off with 172.5. So the injuries caught up to her and greatly plagued her total. But Espinal too far back. Ladies, we've heard the hype about Jess potentially catching up to Turbo. Sophia, what's your take on this? Is Turbo just that far ahead? Can Jess catch up? What are we looking at here? We're at 4. Is this going to turn? How far is this going to go?
I think obviously Jess is pretty close. I mean, yeah, she pulled that World Junior deadlift as well, which looks good. But Tiff, I think even with her third squat, that is the best I've seen her move a third squat in competition. It was just phenomenal. I think with Tiff, the bench attempts, I think could have been a little bit more conservative. I think from her
Mm.
first to second was quite a big jump. She made the 5 kilo jump from 97.5. I think she could have taken the chip on her second with the world record bench. Instead, she went 102.5. She could have just done 100.5. But that's probably another conversation. But yeah, and then her deadlifts, I think she missed her second deadlift, didn't she? And then got the 170 on her third. So she still left a few kilos out there as well with for Tiffany. So I think it's going to be hard for anyone to actually beat Tiffany, but they're definitely going to challenge her in the upcoming years for sure. As I said, Jess had a great day. I believe one of her benches was overturned as well for elbow depth, which I'm sure we'll come on to because that kind of plagued the 47s a little bit, that elbow bench depth rule, and a lot of overruling from the jury as well, which was a real shame to see, really. But yeah, I didn't realize Ureli was injured. But yeah, I mean, if she's pulling more than that, then she's definitely pushing for those top spots on the podium. So
Ordinarily, Aurelie could have threatened Jess if Jess missed, and you're right. The jury was active. Jess moved forward with just 90 kilos on bench. She can bench a lot more than that. I seen her bench. Now I can say I think it was on her close friends slash best friends post, but she did 100 kilos. So she could bench. But the jury was active, depth calls flying all over the place, and she ends up with just 90 kilos in the opener, which hurt her. And then she went all in on her final deadlift because Aurelie wasn't chasing her. So where she might have been, 415 wasn't really an indication of where her top end is on the day. She's looking behind, and if Aurelie's not going to threaten for a silver, she might as well threaten ahead. It's ambitious to go from 177.5 on your final pull to 197.5. But what the hell? You got one day of the year to possibly become a world champion. You're not going to live your whole freaking life being like, why didn't I load up? It's like the Sam Calhoun scenario from 2018, where she could pull a deadlift world record or she could pull for the world championship, but it'd be a massive ask, and she pulled for the deadlift world record, and that ended up being the last pull that she ever had to pull for a world title. Never was in that kind of scenario again. Looking back, she ended up losing in 2019, was on podium, did well, but that was as close as she would come anyways. So you don't want to live looking back like, fuck, I should have just loaded. whatever. What if a miracle hit? What if an horrible moment happened? So I think it's good. Okay, Lee. Yeah, injured. It wasn't going to be her day. And Vicky from Australia, 3 times she bombs out on bench, ran into Vicky afterwards, and Vicky said, I was the sacrifice. Let's hope the rest of the world championships is a little smoother. Point was made. I got sacrificed to the powerlifting gods, and nobody else bombed out, and the jury was far less active with elbow depth and overruling. But man, those 47s and 52s, they took it. What are you thinking? Sorry, were you going to say something, Sophia?
Oh, I just think it was just such a shame because especially I mean there's a lot of controversy come from the bench like from this World Championships with the bench rule. It's just I think we've just seen right here like how subjective it is. I mean like looking actually at the replays of Vicky's bench, like to me they look all great. They look in if not better than actually what's in the IPF rule book. So it's just way too subjective and rules need to be like it's either there or it's not. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a real shame to see, especially at this level, like people bombing out, especially with Vicky, where she could have even challenged for like higher spots that like near the podium. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's they're just becoming very active. I've found this championship.
Look,
Yeah, and
Vicky. Sorry, go ahead, Amelia.
I was gonna say, I think as well, I'll get onto the whole kind of jury stuff in a second, but Vicky was the one person that could properly press orally for that third position, and which is why it gave Orally the freedom to do that big jump for her third. And it is a real shame because I'm sure everyone's seen all the comparisons almost immediately online to like benches that were fine and benches and Vicky's bench, which I think it is a huge shame because you know I don't want to harp on about this too much, but as an athlete, as a viewer, I know Ryan, you probably agree with me as a commentator, it's really just hard to gauge what's wanted from the athlete. And I think with the jury being so active, there was a lot of uproar, and not just with the bench rule. Obviously, I know, Sophia, that you kind of fell into the pits of yeah, which I'm sure we'll get onto in the 76s, but it's
It
it's
still
just
hurts.
I know, I'm sorry, I didn't want to, but I knew we were going to get there eventually. But it's just such a shame, and I feel like a lot of people were saying it's not the role the jury should be playing, you know.
Yeah, like 100% Vicky could have been a podium threat. She's done over 400 kilos before. That would have got her on the podium on this day with Aurelie, especially with it would be a battle between her and Aurelie. And I was picking Aurelie for bronze anyways, but on this day, Aurelie was vulnerable. Vicky couldn't capitalize. And in terms of the bench rule, it looks like it's a tough one to manage, huh? Looks like a tough one to call consistently, anyways. They did kind of simmer down with the interjections later on.
Mm.
Uh, but and I don't know if that was, I don't know. I got no idea. But it would be, it doesn't, at a certain point, they could always revisit rules. And possibly, I've seen people say, why not do a change where it's fingers on the ring? If you want to bring in, the grips, and then maybe that's how you do it in terms of, mitigating or augmenting the range of motion and stuff like that. Of course, grips will affect different weight classes differently. So then what are you doing? Are you doing different grips for different weight classes? And then it becomes we've never done a rule like that in all of powerlifting. It's always doesn't matter if it's men's, women's, or what weight class, always the exact same rules. But maybe that's not as logistically feasible. Maybe we do have to change it up per weight class. I don't know.
Yeah,
That
I think it definitely needs to be changed just because it makes for athletes really hard to lift to a standard when we don't really know what the standard is because it changes every single competition. So, or do you know what I mean? Like even just watching Worlds, each weight class, the standard was slightly different for the bench depth. Um, so something definitely needs to change as to what. I don't know what the answer is in terms of making it so we don't have these like very small ROM benches, but I don't think the elbow depth is working right now.
what are your thoughts there, Miss Davis, on the 47s?
I mean, it was honestly kind of a scary start to the week because 47s are starting out, right? I mean, I think 59s went first, but there wasn't really any like crazy jury interaction like there was in this with Vicky and Jess mainly. So it was kind of like, oh, this is how, like, you're kind of setting the standard for the rest of the competition, or at least that's what you think when you're first watching it. And we already mentioned how Vicky surely could have been pushing for third and made that a lot more interesting. And I think kind of the same thing with Jess. Like, there are a lot of different things that you could always play, like Monday morning quarterback. I don't know. I don't watch football. I don't know the saying. But if Jess, you know, we saw the 100 kilo bench. If she would have got 95, 97.5, 100, I don't know if she would have, like, you know, she was going all in on her last deadlift anyways, right? So I think just from a viewer standpoint, if you're looking at this jury intervention, it makes it more difficult to follow, especially if you're not well versed in the sport. And it could have made for more just interesting battles at the end. For instance, Vicky versus Aurelie. Jess was already going all in on that third deadlift. Maybe she would have had her in a horror moment where it would have been closer. I mean, 197.5, it's like, okay, that was a big ask, right? But potentially could have been pulling 187.5, 190, and that would have been more of a possibility for her. So it's like, it was just and the jury intervention did die down throughout the championships, but to have it start out like this was just like, oh, it was just worrying because it was taking away from the battles that could have taken place, like just from a viewer standpoint.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say quickly, because I know that we've spoken about the bench rule a lot. I don't want that to take away from how good otherwise the athletes in the 47s were. And like you said, Ryan, like Tiff's performance was outstanding. Like Sophia said, I think it's the best she's looked on the platform, from my memory. Jess had a other than, you know, the bench situation, had a great day and looked really strong. I think Tiff was just the stronger athlete on the day, and potentially, if anyone's going to catch up to Tiff, it could be Jess. I just don't think quite yet. I spoke to Panna after, because he coaches Tiff, after the 47s, because I remember, Ryan, you and I were quite confused about the decision for her bench jump to be quite so large. And he said that was the planned jump if she felt amazing, like, and if the 97 was really, really strong, really good. But after he saw the opener, he expected them to do the 2.5 kilo jump. And they went with the if you feel great plan anyway, as in the French team coaches. So I think the original plan, based off of how it moved, would have and should have been 97, 100, you know, something else, depending kind of where she ended, because it would have been a world record bench, I'm pretty sure. So I think the world record is her own at 99.5, or 100. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but she, you know, I think that was just a mistake on the coaching side of things, which is surprising, but unfortunately, I think we saw a few small blunders from Team France in the coaching side of things this year.
We're gonna
the 100,
yeah.
the world record bench. I think she set it at Sheffield this year.
That's right. This year.
This year. Sorry, yeah. So, but looking at her, Tiffany's open powerlifting, like, she usually does take those 5 kilo jumps with bench press. It's just this time she opened, or like she's never opened at 97 before at any other comp, so it was already quite a high opener. And then yeah, as you said, like taking that 5 kilo jump, I think we saw throughout the championships that the Team France made some attempt calls that like would have been, you know, that we've kind of looked at that should have been something else. Obviously we'll get onto that, but yeah, I think she'll look back at this and probably tweak it a bit. I mean, she did silent worker recently and got the 100 kilo bench. They took a slightly different approach to it and definitely worked. So yeah.
She hit 430 at that meet too, and made weight. Like, it wasn't like, oh, sometimes she'll do the silent worker meets and she weighs like 48 or something, or 49. But like, she made weight, and like, her attempt selection was a lot different, but she actually like she can have good attempt selection. She went 8 for 9 and then still ended off with 430. So
She's
like hats
consistently
off to her. Yeah.
She's consistently 430 and up now. Jess is they gotta drop the hammer now. Jess, again, we've already said she gets all 3 benches and ends off around 100 kilos, possibly collects a chip depending on what Tiffany does in the bench press. It's a whole nother deal for her. That's 10 more kilos onto her total. And then obviously her last final deadlift, she doesn't have to go all in like that. So we could put on a lot more. So Jess might be good for it. She might be around 430 herself. That's the hope moving forward, is that if Jess hovers around 430 as well, now Turbo Tiff needs to be careful. Now Turbo Tiff has got to be honest. And but we'll see. Hopefully, yeah. Bigger picture in terms of the bench rules, whatnot, that's a whole nother conversation. But it's going to affect these 47s. Moving into the 52s, ladies. And Evie Corrigan doing Evie Corrigan things. Ends off with 477.5, super far ahead. Not really a major surprise in terms of Evie Corrigan taking the 52 kilo title, but we did have some surprises, particularly Megan Lee Smith. Looks like she has shot a warning shot to the rest of the 52s and the rest of the world. She has arrived. Megan Lee Smith going 9 for 9 at 452.5. And on a day that Noemi Aliber was off, she's looking like it doesn't matter if Noemi Aliber's on. She's asserting herself into the conversation as the number 2 52 in the world, let alone New Zealand. Like, holy smokes, New Zealand with a 1-2 punch here. If Evie Corrigan wasn't around, Megan Lee Smith would be a world champion, and New Zealand would still have a world champion in the 52s. And then, of course, Plyn Decker's 443, again, just a couple of years ago. This is a type of a total that could win the world championships. Plyn Decker's continuously improving, breaking a squat world record in her second, doing it again in her third, and also going to 9 for 9, just like Megan Lee Smith. Plyn Decker's leveling up, and Noemi Aliber struggled in the squats, and her squat dropped, missed her last deadlift. Her total went down to 437.5, which again, ordinarily a phenomenal total. But this day and age in the 52s, finishes off podium. And who would have thought? Just a couple years ago, I remember Noemi Aliber was the queen of the 52s, 2-time world champion, and a solid favorite, whoever was coming forward. 2 years later, Noemi Aliber does not finish on podium, is not going to World Games, and her future, there's question marks around it. There's question marks what her future looks like. It's surprising. And then after Noemi Aliber, USA's Megan Hurlburt, whom came in with a lot of expectations, a lot of anticipation on what she's going to do at the world stage, and didn't have the day she wanted. 1 for 3 in squats, missed her final bench press, missed her final deadlift, and her total went down a decent chunk. And she ended up top 5, but finishing off podium. And obviously she had aspirations of hitting the podium and going to China. And Frank Marie Duno of Puerto Rico in Group B, I knew she was coming. I knew she was going to finish. I wasn't sure exactly where she would finish off. She ended up on 6, but she got a silver medal in the bench press. She's actually coming over from the equipped and has international experience the whole 9 in the equipped. And some people might not have seen her coming, and that's why she was in Group B and not Group A, despite being a contender. But Amelia, what are your thoughts on the 52s?
This was a great session. And we knew Evie was gonna win and walk away with it. And you know, she remains humble. I don't know if you've seen her recap post. She's saying, "Oh, just starting to feel like maybe it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. She's a freak. She's super strong. In the best,
winning by 20 kilos. I got lucky. What can I say? I got lucky.
She's got a little humble brag. No, she's very humble. She's very strong, and I think, as we knew, as we said in the preview show, the excitement started from silver, really. It's always exciting to watch Evie lift, but we knew the battles would be below that. I think if this is one of the few things I do remember from the preview show, I did say Megan Lee Smith would end up in silver. Just gonna doink that in right there. She had a phenomenal day. You know, it was really amazing. I think the biggest surprise to me was, and a pleasant surprise, was Plum Deckers on her 30th birthday, no less, getting in that bronze position, had a phenomenal day. You know, it was a really exciting session from start to end with some great lifting. Obviously, Noemi and Megan not having the best days, which I think was the biggest upset based off of history and nominations. I know that, like you said, Megan had some higher expectations, and who knows, maybe that played a part in what kind of knocked her back a little bit. We don't know how each individual athlete handles that pressure, but the truth of the matter was, you know, Evie, Megan, and Plum were the three that were the strongest on the day and, you know, had the best days. It's not always about how quickly you can put weight on the bar, it's how much you can accumulate to get that total and who ends up standing on the podium. So I really enjoyed this session, which I probably say about every session, but it was really cool to see the fight and to see a bit of an upset, you know, to see that it's not always as we're going to expect.
If Evie moves up to 57 and we know she's not staying 52 forever, Megan Lee Smith is right there. She's got to know this. She knows Evie Corrigan moves up and she will at some point. That's where New Zealand is stacking the deck, so to speak. They have a gold medal favorite. And so we'll see. We'll see how it shakes up, because it's not. I talked to Evie afterwards and she said it's getting easier adjusting to 52, but still, this isn't going to be a now and forever type of situation. Sophia, what are you thinking here? We're looking at the 52s. We had some surprises maybe with Noemi and Megan, but depends on what Megan you're talking about.
I like, obviously it was a real shame to see Noemi go 5 for 9, but still she put up like a pretty good total, like considering still going 5 for 9, she wasn't that far away from third place. So if we can see Evie have a good day, like if that's her bad day, like I'd like to see her good day. But yeah, I think Noemi will come back, you know, like I know we're not knowing where she's like sitting right now with her comps being a bit rocky, but yeah, we have faith in her. But it was a good session, as you said. Obviously Evie didn't take that last pull, so I'm guessing she's going to be saving that for Sheffield. But which was the right decision. I've heard like a lot of podcasts saying, oh, she should have taken it, but when there's money on the line, like you're not gonna take it, are you? But yeah, no, phenomenal performance from all of these ladies. And like Plum with her squat, like was it 175.5 kilo world record squat? Like insane. A 52 squatting that amount is just crazy. So yeah, really phenomenal lifting from these ladies.
And also Farhana Farid, I should get this out there before I forget, breaking the world record deadlift with 209 was a nice little cap on that session as well.
It was so easy as well.
Always so easy.
She's trained by Penna, and she's beltless too, if I remember. She could keep pushing that thing every international competition she's in.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's worth mentioning as well, because Sophia rightly mentioned Plum's world record squat. She's a phenomenal squatter, but also both Evie and Megan squatted 170, which is only 5.5 kilos below what is now the new world record. So the fact that now not just one but 3 52s are floating in that area is nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, freaking Plum's progress has been phenomenal. Adriena, what are your thoughts on the 52s?
I mean, the whole time I was just amazed with what Evie can do after staying in a class that, you know, like we've seen her, she's lean. She cut down to this class from 57, like staying in a class that you're not going to stay in forever, like being that lean and being able to get stronger over the past 2 years. I was just watching and I was like, Evie's an athlete, man. Like just well-rounded across the board, didn't have to take her last deadlift, no world records in like she's close to like the squat 5.5 kilos off, as Amelia mentioned. Deadlift, she just didn't take her last deadlift, right? Bench, I don't know what the bench one is. It was probably before the bench rule, but like Evie was just like amazing to watch. Like to be able to, because she cut down for Sheffield, right? The first Sheffield, and it was this big surprise. And during the whole competition, the question was, how much strength is this a death cut? How much strength could she keep? And that's in that one competition, right? And then the question remained going into Worlds, going into this year's Sheffield, going into this year's Worlds. Like that's just such a long time to maintain that low body weight and continue to get stronger. Like her lifts were, it's just like crazy to see each time. So I imagine she's staying 52 for Sheffield, considering she didn't take that last deadlift. I don't know where the future is for her after that, if she goes up after that or what, but I'm just excited to see what she does in either weight class, 52 or 57, because she's really coming to her own here. And then kind of the same thoughts on the podium. Ploon really had a day, and it was really cool to see. I think we all knew that Ploon was capable, but it was just that Noemi and Megan had kind of shown higher totals, and Noemi, like you said, queen of the 52s prior. So it was a phenomenal battle, like under Evie, right? So kind of like you were alluding to, Ryan, once Evie eventually moves up, Megan Lee is the favorite, but like it was still a good battle all the way down from podium. Cause like Sophia said, if Noemi ends up having a good day, Megan Hurlburt, Ploon, like that will be it's a stacked weight class.
I think it's going to get shuffled again. Every time they go in there, it's going to shuffle. Because Megan Hurlburt's got more in her. Noemi, I'm interested. I don't know what's going to go on there, but she's got more in her. She's proven she has more in her previously. Sloan keeps leveling up, and then Megan Lee Smith, holy smokes. She's young, and the progress has been crazy. And again, like Evie's probably going to be there for Sheffield, but she's not going to be there forever.
Yeah, you're gonna start seeing, Megan, Noemi just slipping butter into Evie's meals, oh, you're getting heavy, you should be 57.
Do to her what I did to Leah Babel in 2022, apparently.
Oh my
But
God, didn't you take her for dinner before the burgers before a comp?
still comes up,
Get that with cheese, Leah.
still comes up
I
that I
remember
force
that
fed her at
rumor
dinner.
in South Africa. I remember that rumor coming around, and you came in the elevator with me, and you was like, "Is there a rumor going around about me?" And I was like, "Yeah, man,
Good
that's
rumor.
not his prep."
Hey, I remember, I think I was with Jess the night before hanging out with a bunch of people, and Jess heard the rumor. I was like, "Did you hear that rumor?" She's, "Yeah, I heard." And I was like, "Did you say something?" She goes, "Nah, I just let it continue." I'm like, "The shit, I was with you. I'm pretty sure I was with Jess and a bunch of people." I was like, "Oh man." But anyways, it's the
Just,
wildest.
just a disclaimer to the listeners. It's not a rumor. Ryan did do it, and he hates cops. So
Watch out. Watch out. I'm taking Evie next. I take the dinners you can't say no to. But yeah, we'll see. And if she moves up to 57, this is a nice segue here. She will be probably instantly a contender, because if you look at without taking her final deadlift, 477.5, had she put a deadlift on or whatever, if she'd maxed out, where might her max out be at 52? If she moves up to 57, 480 was good enough for podium by Sylvain Pal of France in the 57 kilo class. In the 57s, obviously, Natalie Richards didn't show up due to injury, and that kind of set the 57s in motion to be somewhat predictable. In the beginning, she had a heavy favorite to win this, and by the time she pulled her opening deadlift and solidified her total was already 500 kilos, which is more than Bobby and Sylvain have ever done. So there was already, it wasn't over, but it was good. It was very difficult to foresee. And then Bobby asserting herself as a solid silver medalist with a 492.5, which is phenomenal at 57. And then Sylvain asserting herself at 480. And the spread between Bobby and Sov being 12.5 kilos, and the spread between Sylvain and Adoyu, or sorry, how do I pronounce that name properly?
Adeteo.
Adeteo, thank you. is, was it 17 kilos. So the spread between these ladies, between gold, silver, bronze, and fourth, was quite the spread. So it wasn't necessarily, we didn't have a battle for gold, but we didn't have a battle for silver, nor did we have a battle for bronze. We kind of were cruising into the rankings we had. However, it was still fun to see these ladies go at it, but we have some unfinished business in the 57s where Natalie Richards needs to return. And we need a battle between Jad and Natalie Richards. Right now, they're 1-1. And Jad finally got that final check mark. She's a junior world champion. Twice at Sheffield, she beat the reigning world champion in the Open, but never had won the Open World Championship herself. Despite the fact she obviously was, she even broke the Open World record, didn't do it at the World Championships. She's done everything but. She's beaten reigning world champions, broken the Open World record, but just never captured the title. Did so, albeit defending world champion wasn't there. I think we got, just me, I think we got to run this one back. Adriena, what do you think about this, the 57s and what you saw?
Right. I mean, you kind of set the stage already. Like once Natalie pulled out, it was kind of Jad's to lose, but she still had to go out there and execute, not bomb out or whatever crazy stuff could happen. And she did have one little mishap on her second deadlift. I forgot if she dropped it or it was just a weird fail, you know. But she came out, got that 230, added those extra 15 kilos, and I believe her total world record sits at 519.5. So to be just 5 kilos under that, and she's pulled a lot more in the gym too. Like I remember she posted up a 240 kilo deadlift and it wasn't that hard,
Crazy.
especially for her. Yeah, like absolutely insane. And I mean, it was hers to lose. She just had to execute throughout the day, and she did. She went 8 for 9. Her squat probably could have been pushed more. Her bench probably could have been pushed a little bit more, not 10 kilos or something, but maybe 2.5, 5 or so. And she was in a position where she kind of like Evie just didn't have to push that world record total. So that kind of sets her up well. This was mentioned on other podcasts too. It sets her up well for Sheffield to be able to make, I know she's going to do junior worlds, but she's still got a long time until Sheffield. Relatively, it's in late January this year or next year, but she's got a good bit of time to add to her total. I think she's doing junior worlds in the 63s as well. So I don't know, like probably just gonna, I don't imagine she's gonna be bulking up all the way to 63, but she doesn't have to cut down. So she can continue to build that momentum into Sheffield. And yeah, it'll be a great showing from her. And it'll be excited to see her. I don't know if they're gonna give Natalie a wild card or something. That would be kind of difficult given that she didn't do worlds. But it'll be exciting to see her in a position where she actually has to push. And she has showed out on the Sheffield stage both times. So I'm excited for that. Bobby Butters had a day. She had a 10 kilo PR total. The past few years, she's kind of been around that 480, 470-ish kilo mark. So to see her go 9 for 9, hit 492.5 was just really great to see. I mean, her deadlifts popped off. Her squat was only, I think, half a kilo under Jad's world record squat. So she probably could have taken that, but they, just wanted to build the total. So fantastic job from her. And same from Sovan popped off. I mean, she had hit 470 before, but it wasn't, okay, it was at Euros, but it wasn't on the world stage. So to see her again add 10 kilos, and she kind of had a YOLO deadlift too, was fantastic. And she replicated that at Silent Worker as well.
That's
she
right.
did.
Yeah,
She
pretty
replicated
crazy.
that 480. So it wasn't just a one showing or anything. Like to be able to do that, these lifters doing that Silent Worker meet, man, I watched that whole meet because it was like the production was great. And to see these lifters be able to replicate their world's performances like a week or two later is just like crazy. So that was a fun meet to watch. But yeah, kind of like you said, the 57s were predictable, but still had really good showings from all three of those ladies.
Definitely some improvement. And then with Adateo and Alessandra Cernigliero from Italy and Nicola, we had some battles as it got further down off the podium, just not necessarily on the podium. Let me ask you guys this. Sophia, I'll throw it to you first. Turbo Tiff, Jad Jacob, still juniors. And Amelia's getting emotional over here. That she just loves lifting so much. She's got to excuse herself. Such a beautiful performance. Jad and Turbo Tiff.
Okay, babe.
that last deadlift gets her every time. It gets her every time. But
Adriena with the bench.
that's right, the bench rule.
I mean,
Got her
after last year, and then Jad hitting that third deadlift this year, it's
Babe, I
But-
can see the
beautiful.
forehead vein. What is going on?
Oh, it's the most vascular muscle, my head.
That's right. Dice, coming dice for this show, by the way. Jad and Turbo are both juniors. Why would they go do Junior Worlds? Tell me why a Junior Worlds would be on the table. For me, okay, if I look at Turbo Tiff, 4-time world champion in the Open. And I talked to Penowith about this. 4-time junior, 4-time open world champion. What does she gain by going into the junior worlds at this point when you're a 4-time open world champion? Does this improve her resume, or is it literally, what does it do? Same with Jad, by the way, who's already won junior worlds and now is an open world champion. What is the gain here for her to go to the juniors? I'll throw it to you first, Sophia. Be honest. You don't have to steel man case why they should go. Tell me your honest opinion, and then maybe I'll ask a steel man. But
I think, like, why not? I mean, they've obviously like not got long till, I mean, I don't know how old are they? Have they got another year in the juniors,
I
or
think this is
I
it
think it's their
for
last year?
Yeah,
So if it's their
for
last
both.
year, like, why not? Like, it's your last year to do it. I mean, it's pretty much a given for Tiff to be like winning junior worlds. And they love doing, the French love going like maxing out. So why not do it at a competition that's like, they've got nothing else the rest of the year unless they've got like a nationals at the end of the year. But and like in terms of Jade, like it's a chance for her to do a competition at a higher body weight, like not necessarily have to worry about cutting. So for her, it might be, you know, a chance to go all out and just do something on a international stage with not much like pressure. She still has like obviously competition in the 63s at Junior Worlds. I think she's currently nominated second, is she? Yeah, so but I think it would just be like, if I was them, I would do it personally. Like, just add another like world title to your belt. Why not? Especially if it's your last year, and you've got nothing else planned for the rest of the year. I don't see why they should.
Here's okay, good points. Here's something. If this matters, maybe it doesn't matter. So Jad goes 63. Alba Bostrom is still a junior in the 50s, in the 63, sorry. And she'll be up into the 5. She's done 525 at this Worlds, and she can push more. Alba's strong, and she will meet her on the platform. Turbo Tiff goes 52. I think Joya is still a 52. She's the reigning world champ in the 52s. And I don't have Joya's total off the top of my head, but she would be right up there as well. Both Turbo Tiff and Jad, there's a possibility they go juniors and they don't win if they go a weight class up. And I'm not sure. Let me throw it to you, Amelia, unless you got something you want to throw in there as well, Sophia. You've considered this, but or maybe this doesn't change your mind at all. But I don't know. For me, unless look at, they're like, I want to go full send. I don't want to push the open world record because of Sheffield, but I want to go full send, drop the hammer. So I'm going to do it. But on the flip side, I don't know. I don't know what it necessarily coming in silver in the junior world championships a weight class up would do for you. If that's the case, it rolls out like that.
Maybe it's not like a title thing. Like, it depends what their intentions are going into it. Because like because yeah, as you said, like it's not a guarantee that they're going to take away the win, but it might just be a chance for like, you know what, it's my last year, I might as well just do it at a higher weight class so I can just like have fun with it. Yeah, I don't know what their intentions are going into it, like whether they want to go into it to win, but I'd still, if I was them, I'd still just do it just for fun, like just see what I can do at a heavier weight. But yeah, I mean, if they're cool with coming, like the possibility of coming second, then so be it. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think, Amelia?
Well, it is interesting. I would like to hear their genuine reasoning. I think realistically, when do you think the last time both Jad and Tiff, because of how good they are in the opens, did a meet and just did it and had fun and like didn't have to worry about all these different elements? And you know, maybe that plays a factor in it. Maybe they're looking to get a meet under their belt where, you know, they can eat into it before Sheffield. I'm not sure if dispensation comes in at all with French nationals, and maybe they want to do a meet earlier than French nationals before Sheffield, because obviously Sheffield is in January this year, so it's earlier than it was this year, next year for this year. But you know, if they are planning on not doing French nationals, perhaps it makes sense to have a meet, you know, in between the time, have a bigger run up to Sheffield. I'm not sure if they're allowed to do that. Different countries' rules are different there. I think it'll be interesting, you know, for Tiff, it'll be a close battle with Joya if Joya has a good day. But actually, you know, yeah, I mean, but if you look at the 63s, obviously there's Alba there who, you know, looked so strong at Open Worlds, but also whose total I don't think is completely reflective of the nomination, is Betty Abora from the Netherlands in third, who I think is gonna give us a pretty big surprise. She's doing Euromuscle next week, so I think that will give us a good idea. But honestly, I don't know the benefit there, unless, like I said, they're not doing French nationals, unless they're just looking to, you know, it's Ellis, last year as a junior, we're probably not going to have many more chances just to do a fun whatever meet, if that's what you can call Junior World. That's how good they are, you know. Then perhaps that's the reasoning, but I would be interested after we stop filming this to figure that out and regroup.
I think, well, first off, Jessica Espinal also is nominated. She'll be in the 47s. She's sticking to her true weight class. So there's an opportunity. I see where Jess has an opportunity to grab a world title. She didn't grab an open world title. So I see, like, look at a world title, still a world title, and grabbing that, go full send, possibly make a statement if you want SBD to look your way for a Sheffield wild card or whatever. So I could see certain pathways for certain people. And on the flip side, if you're Joya and you have Turbo Tiff move into the 52s and you're the reigning junior world champ, you have an opportunity to make everybody talk about you. You will be licking your lips like, come on over. Come on up a weight class. I am the reigning champ. If I beat you head to head, holy smokes, are all the podcasts going to be talking about me? Same with Alba Bostrom in the 63s. Alba's a phenomenal lifter, but she doesn't have a scalp like Jack up to defeat a reigning world champion head to head at a world championship, even if that person's moving up, is phenomenal and is going to put you are going to be like, yes, please. Yeah, let's have this clash. Let's do this. Let's do this, because come Monday, when all the podcasts get released, I pull off this win, everybody's going to be talking about. I defeated the reigning world champion, open world champion. I defeated the reigning. Oh, it's good for the juniors. It's good for the world championship. People will tune in and be like, holy shit. And it's good that they're not staying 52s and 57s, or sorry, 57s and 47s. It's good they're moving up, so it makes it a little more intrigue. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Just roughing up people, except for Turbo Tiff, because Espinal is her main chief competition in the open as well. But it is intriguing matchup wise, because they're vulnerable to some of these people, but
maybe they're just taking a leaf out of Agatha's book, who isn't competing this Junior Worlds, but she just competes and competes and competes. And, you know, she, you know, floated between 76 and 84 as a junior and just got that experience, and it's clearly worked pretty well for her. So maybe trying some different tactics, but I'm looking forward to being there and seeing it.
We'll see what happens. I'm interested. Let's move into the 63s, ladies. And I'll throw it to you, Adriana, because your girl Megan showed up, lived up to all the hype, breaking into the 550s, and 557.5 was what Carola Gara did to win last year's Worlds, and Megan's right there now. And with the discussion of Leah dropping down, Gara's going to stick at 69 kilos, and Leah, very favorable high odds of dropping down. She's not 100% on it, but it looks like she's going to return to the 63s. And this time, Megan no longer is 505. It will be contending for silver like in 2022. Megan won, but when we thought Leah was going to show up, it wasn't going to be that case. She'd be contending to fend off for the silver medal and be on the podium. Those days are gone. Megan is a legitimate 550 and up 63. And Gara was 557.5, and she just went up to 69 kilos and won the title. Megan's in there. If you tell me, look, I think Megan can add 7.5 kilos to her title or to her total. Yeah, well, now we're 560 and up. Like she's there. She's arrived in a lot of ways at this world championship. But the 63s was more than just her. We had Chiara Bernardi, who had a huge 540 day coming into this. Between Chiara and Serenaldi of Italy, it was going to be close. We knew they were neck and neck, and they were neck and neck once again here, opening with the exact same squat, exact same second attempt squat, exact same third attempt squat, opening on bench press, only 2.5 kilos apart, but the exact same second attempt. And then in the third attempt, Chiara broke slightly ahead with 2.5 kilos. That 2.5 kilos ended up being everything, because in deadlifts, they opened the same and finished the same with 222.5. And it was just that 2.5 kilos that she finished off on bench press lead that nudged her ahead of now an arch rival in Serenaldi. And these two are so flippin' evenly matched. They open the same, damn near finish the same, and are neck and neck. And then, of course, Alba Ballstrom finishing off the podium with 525. It's a junior world record, and she's going to go to the juniors. And Joy Namani, 511.5. Joy pulling for a world record. Joy's always, well, she broke the world record on her second attempt, pulling to break it again on her third. And Joy Namani doing Joy Namani things. I think this is 3 weight classes, 3 deadlift world records. I mean, she's a deadlift phenom and you know, 2-time world or 2 division world champion, multiple time world champion. But Sophia, what were your thoughts on the 63s?
Yeah, like I really enjoyed this weight class actually. Like seeing Chiara and Sarah just like go head to head on like that and just literally the exact same the whole way through. Really interesting to see how like the Italians dealt with that as well. But yeah, Megan just crazy, like, and even like Megan going for Carola's bench world record as well. See, she missed that. I think it was like her bum lifted on her third. But yeah, she is a force to be reckoned with. As you said, like Alba looked really strong throughout as well. And Joy, yeah, just doing Joy things. It'll be interesting to see what Joy does, if whether she chooses to stick with the 63s or maybe potentially go down to 57s again. But yeah, I really enjoyed this weight class. Just the second and third place being 2.5 kilos between them is just crazy. Like they've progressed together, which you don't normally see. So I think it'll be a real battle between those two in the upcoming years. But yeah, really pleased for Megan. She just really showed out this competition.
Joy is still only 60.25 kilos. She could easily cut into 57. You take that total she put up, throw it as a 57. She's neck and neck with Jad right there all over again. She could, but I mean, who knows, a few kilos. Maybe it's a tough cut that she just doesn't want to do anymore. She's still breaking world records as a 63, so maybe it's more comfortable. Adriana, what are your thoughts about this? Megan looks like she's done a great job adjusting to the bench rule. And for a little while there, her bench suffered, but we're getting right back after it now, and it's really affected her total.
Right. I mean, Megan, she's really come into her own the past few years. Like since her comeback in 2022, had children in I think it was like 2020, and then 2021 didn't get to go to Worlds. 2022 comes back, wins against we talked about earlier, kind of your fault, Ryan, with you taking Leah out to dinner.
Yeah.
But we see the same cast of characters like Megan, Kiara. I think Sarah was at that championship too in 2022. And then we see last year, Megan's just been like slowly chipping away at her total and really like growing as a lifter throughout the years. Last year, Carola Gara was in this weight class, broke the world record with that 557.5. But Megan still ended up in silver, like kind of showing that, hey, behind Leah and Carola, who moved up, like she was like that next up lifter. And for a while there, kind of like you were alluding to, these ladies were, I guess, a little bit behind, Carola and Leah, having totals in 500 to 520 range. But now they all popped off this championship, and it was really, I think it's just a great showing when all these lifters are hitting lifts. I mean, we see one all the way down to 4, like even Alba Bostrom had a day, only missing her last deadlift to try to pull for a podium. Kiara and Sarah both going 9 for 9. They have got, if let's say Megan didn't exist, right? And let's say Kiara and Sarah were going back and forth on like world titles or something. They have got like, I think one of the best rivalries in powerlifting, like period. Because I've been following them since I believe it was 2021 Worlds when they went head to head, 21 Junior Worlds. And since then, they've just been like continuously pushing each other in the same country, born the same year. Their totals, kind of like Sophia said, have like progressed together. So it was really great to see both of them go 9 for 9 and hit. I believe both of them only hit, not only, it's still a crazy total, but coming in, they had hit around 525. So to see them hit 540, 537.5 was just like great to see. And then Megan, like I said, I told you she was capable of that world record total, and you thought I was crazy. But if she had gotten her last bench with, which again, we said it was easy. Her benches are always going to be easy, but she just had that technical issue with her butt lift. She would have been 1 kilo behind Carola's world record. So I'm really excited to see Megan just continuing to push that total up. I don't think she's going to be like Jad or Tiffany and do another competition until Sheffield. So I'm really excited to see how far she can push it. And I'm excited to see, like you said, if Leah potentially, I mean, Leah, we don't know the wild cards yet. We'll get into that with the 69s, but I have imagined she'll likely get a wild card, drop down to 63s. And if we see Megan just continue to have the progression she has, maybe bring that 150 bench to the Sheffield platform, that could be like, it could end up being a battle between the two. So I'm just really happy for Megan to pick up her second world title here.
Can you imagine the showdown that would be with Leah Babla and Megan? And this is, I mean, I talked to Megan afterwards, and her confidence is at a whole nother level. Where previously she was like, okay, you look at 2022 and you'd be like, yeah, you're a world champ because Leah didn't show up, Leah missed weight, whatever. Now it's like she's just straight up the world champ, no caveats, no nothing. She's really developed the progress she's made in her mid-30s as a mother, working the whole nine. I mean, it's inspirational, just like Jaren's, where he's a father, freaking working a crazy hours for his job, and in his mid-30s making crazy progress. I mean, it's hats off to Megan asserting herself in the 63s like she has. And also to your point, in terms of the Italians, Serenaldi and Chiara, Last year, it was them plus Gara. Talk about a freaking stacked national 63 championship. When you have those, I mean, that's crazy.
You
know-
gotta watch Italian nationals. Like you can't
You are such a powerlifting
can't
nerd.
skip it.
Watch. You're watching Italian nationals.
I
French
went to-
nationals?
I went to Italian nationals once. I think it was 2021 I went.
Did you really?
Yeah,
I
actually
don't
went.
know how many nationals. I'm obvious. Well, I mean, I'm at the American nationals. I'll watch some nationals, but
I mean,
My
if you're
God.
watching the British nationals, I think we'll be personally offended. So
well, all right, I'll watch. So not even highlights. Watch 3 hours right through
Honestly,
every day.
I
Every
nah,
day.
I'll be
I
watching.
just
God.
I'll be
I
I mean,
tune
what
in
else do
I
you
tune
do?
in for the highlights. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Mostly for Kiara and Sarah. Because it's just crazy the rivalry they have. And it's like if they were trading world titles back and forth, like it would be like they're just always so tight. Like you can't be like one's ahead. Like they're always it's almost weird. It's almost weird how close they have been throughout like 3 years now. It's just crazy. It's fun to
Incredibly
watch.
matched. What are you thinking there, Amelia, about the 63s?
I mean, I'm not sure how much more I can add. I think you guys, summed it up really nicely. Some incredible talent there. Megan had a great day. Obviously, her third bench was overruled by the jury or overturned by the jury, I believe, because of butt lift. But man, she looked so strong. She had a phenomenal day. And, like you guys mentioned, Kiara and Sarah do the same at Euros. They do the same at Nationals. It's always really interesting to watch and match each other's lift, not just the jumps, but lift for lift. So it's always really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the next couple years unfold just with everybody here, looking at what Joy does. Either she goes down and potentially maintains her strength and is fighting there at those top spots, or she eats into the 63s and gains momentum and strength and can pull up there. I'm not counting her out by any means. Alba, obviously still a junior, looking forward to seeing how she progresses as she comes into her own in the opens. And I think as the next couple of years unfold, it's going to get more and more tight and competitive in the 63s, which I'm really looking forward to. But they gave us a great showing this year, and I think it's only going to get better from here.
How about the 69s? Talking about Italians here. Carola Gara clinching the 69-kilo title. We knew her and Leah were close. They've been talking about a rivalry battling back and forth. In both of their resumes, they multiple time world champions, different weight classes. Gara in and out of equipment. Leah, 2 different weight classes, clashing at Sheffield. I mean, these two are made for each other. One from France, one from Italy, and Gara putting it together on a day where the bench wasn't there, only getting her opener, jumping up 7.5 kilos, not getting it, but hitting all of her other lifts. But Leah Bavois, we have some storylines here. Okay, the Leah Bavois storyline, what might have happened? I can offer some insight on the frame of mind and thinking. So Leah Bavois opened with 212.5, jumped to 225.5, which is the world record on her second attempt. Missed it, wasn't close. Tried it on her third attempt, missed it, wasn't close. And then from there, she was so far behind, she needed to build off of that squat. I could tell you that in prep for this, when you're thinking, why did the French load up that? She was hitting 230, and I think she'd done it multiple times. And they probably seen the video and thought, okay, we got 230. And then they also were probably telling themselves, she's not cutting any weight whatsoever. So the likelihood of her taking 230 from the gym and bringing it onto the platform goes up when there's no body weight cut. You're at the same body weight as you were before. And they're telling themselves, if you're going to finish around 230, 231, your second attempt should be around 225. If you're using that kind of logic, you might be like, let's do a 5-kilo jump. Sophia doesn't like that jump, but it's not the craziest. 5 kilo jump isn't the craziest because they might have said, let's grab that chip on the second. And if we're risking the third and miss the third, at least we have the chip, is what I think they were thinking. However, when you go on the day and 212.5 is a struggle bus, you're faced with some tough decision, aren't you? Amelia, talk to me here.
It's just such a shame because when you see two giants like Corolla and Leah go head to head, you want to see them both at their best, and you want to see, and like I'm super happy for Corolla, and she had a phenomenal day, and you know, but you want to see them either win or lose on their own accord, on their own strength, not perhaps the blunder of somebody else's hands. And I think that's a real shame. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not pointing fingers or any blame here, but I think it's a shame to see it go down like that in terms of calling numbers rather than anything else. And I think, yeah, it's just, you don't want to see it unfold that way. Corolla had a phenomenal day and she looked strong. She looked like she had a few more kilos like to collect along the way if she needed to. Her and the Italian team were really smart about securing kilos, building them, and just doing what's needed all the way through. And, you know, I think it's hard to say because, like you said, Leah had done 230 on multiple occasions. And how could they have done that differently to where she could end up near that or at that? You know, hindsight's 2020. But on the day, Corolla had a phenomenal time. You know, ended up 10 kilos ahead of Leah, which, you know, if Leah did get those squats wherever she may have ended up, Corolla and Team Italy perhaps would have been pushed more to get to that top end, and it would have been, you know, a bit more blood and tears all the way through for both. But it was a great fight for gold, and then it was a great fight for bronze as well, you know, between Marta, Gabby, and Annie. It was a lot closer, and as you know, Sophia and I kept saying on the preview show, it don't count Annie out, and I think she proved that she's not going to go down without a fight, and that, you know, she's one to keep an eye on. And same for Gabby. But Marta just had a great day and showed us why her name has already been kind of etched in history before.
Sophia, so you were making faces here. What are your thoughts? Shoot from the hip on this one.
Yeah, I think like there must have been some kind of miscommunication or something going on with the French team there, because to take, if your top end is 230, still to take that 12.5 kilo jump after seeing that first is still kind of wild. Doing like a 12.5 kilo jump and then just a 5, like especially at a world championship where you're there to build a total, you've actually got competitors as well. Like that's risky. So yeah, seeing how that 212.5 went, no matter what the plan was, you have to go off what's there on the day, right? Even if the plan was to get to 230, like the French team should have seen that, how that opener moved, and should have been like, right, we need to take it back a little bit and just build here. I really think they should have made a smaller jump there, even if it was just, if they went to like 217, 220, and then gone from there, maybe chipped the world record on the third. Just getting a second squat in would have really like put a bit more pressure on Carola. But yeah, it was a pretty wild start to the 69s with the squats. I mean, even Marta missing 2 squats was finishing on 190. I think even she had said in the post that she kind of counted herself out at that point, but then brought herself back in it, which was really, yeah, which I'm really pleased to see. I mean, like I think everyone kind of counted her out after the squats, but for her to show up on deadlifts like that was great. And like her bench was like getting that 130 on the bench after seeing it in training so many times was really good to see as well. And then going into bench press with Carola missing 2 benches on elbow depth, like she clearly had the strength there for the, I think it was 147 she went. Was a real shame again to see, after obviously we've spoken about it with the 47s, but was really a shame to see there when she definitely had like more in her, and who knows what she would have gone for her third had she got her second bench. Carola definitely looked like the stronger lifter on the day, there's no doubt about it. But as you said, we don't like seeing lifters missing lifts. And next time I'd love to see both of them hitting all their squats, all their benches, and really letting it come down to that final pull. Obviously, Leah went for that final pull just to pull her into it. I think she went 240 and missed that. But yeah, it was a great battle as well with Gabby and Annie. I think Annie took the bronze in the squat, which was good to see with 205. And then it was really exciting to see, actually. I was watching it from my room because it was the day before I was competing. The live chat was going wild. With those deadlifts, I think Annie went for 232 to pull herself into third, missed it. Her lockout was looking a bit sketchy on her opener and her second, but yeah, just grip went on that second. It's down to her big quads, man. I think that's what she's got, those thick quads. But she really had a great day. Like she should be really proud of herself. I know I'm proud of her. But yeah, Marta pulled out the bag there. I think, as you said, you said previously, like Carola definitely had more in the tank. So I'm excited to see what she does at Sheffield, especially with Sheffield this year. She went to pull for the win to beat Agatha instead of actually pulling to win and beat Leah. So even at Sheffield, I think she had a lot more there. I think she's one of the most like underrated lifters, especially being that she's not as like vocal on social media. I think she is one of the greatest lifters that we have, like in female powerlifting, especially with all her titles within Equipped and Classic. She is just insane. I would never count her out of anything.
She's for sure going into the Hall of Fame, and with everything she's doing. And I love that at Sheffield, she didn't load up to beat Leah. She loaded up to beat Agatha.
Yeah.
That is a tiger right there. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm not happy with coming in second. It's not enough. Well, you could sort out the rivalry with Leah, possibly load up for that. No, no. There's another 69 in here, and I'm going to deal with her. That's the way you're supposed to do it. You go out on your shield, is the way you do it. So yeah, hats off to Carola Garra winning the 69 kilo world title. I mean, freak, bitch, she's still young too. Who knows how many? She's 30 years old. How many more freaking world titles could she win? And she's getting stronger and stronger. If that 7.5 kilo goes on to her total, I mean, she's shooting up. Who knows? The sky's the limit for her. I'm going to throw this to Adriena. Marta, after the squats, she went 1 for 3 in the squat event, whereas rivals Gabby and Annie, both of them went 3 for 3 in the squat event. And it was those 3 ladies who were going to vie for the bronze medal, make it onto the podium, and qualify for World Games. And after the squat event, with Marta only going 1 for 3 and those rivals going 3 for 3, how many times have we said Marta just doesn't show up on the day? She just doesn't show up when she needs to. And after the squat event, it could have been that story. And for her to gather herself and never miss another lift, rally like she did, and end up getting 550 on the podium, grabbing a medal, punching her ticket to World Games, and in a field that deep of the 69s. Is this the redemption story? Is this what it? Tell me your thoughts on the 69s, Adriena, in the battle for the podium.
I mean, I think it's gotta be for Marta Shedder to. I mean, we have been waiting for her to hit 550 plus, like cross into that 550 mark in this class for a while now. And it's been that same storyline. She just kind of doesn't show up on meet day. Something goes wrong. She gets sick. It's just been meet after meet where her training looks good and she puts up 545, 550 in the gym. On meet day, it just doesn't happen. To see her finally hit 550, it was like, oh, so great to see. And to see like again, she was always in that conversation for the bronze medal, right? But I think most people have put Gabby or Annie there, and it was a really exciting showing from all 3 of them, especially because they're all so tight in their deadlift strength. So it kind of became a game of like chicken, who's going first. There were some misses, and then Marta just showed out after missing like having a rough start, like you said, but then coming back and like just hitting the rest of her. She didn't miss a lift after those squats, and it was just great to see. So hats off to her. I'm excited to see what she does in the future, especially considering that she's hit that 200 kilos before. I don't know in a meet. I don't think she's done it in a meet, but she's hit it before time and time again in training. So if she could just replicate this performance, bring that 200 kilos over, that's 560 we're talking about here. And it's like, she's like, it was just a great showing from her after meet where it just doesn't go to plan, right? And then I don't have too much to add for the rest. I think you guys, you know, hit it on the head between Carola and Leah. It was a great battle, but it would have been a better battle if there were you know, it's always a better showing when lifters hit across the board, or they mostly hit, go 8 for 9. So it did take a dampen to their totals, but I mean, it was still a good battle for them. Corolla coming up on top. For Leah's attempt selection, I didn't know if I wanted to mention it, but I did hear rumors that there was some sort of miscommunication with that second squat. The rumor was that it was supposed to be 222.5 instead of 225.5. Some sort of error there. And I can't like, oh, I'm not like don't quote me on that, or I'm not gonna like die on that hill. Don't come at me. I don't know if that's 100% right, but it's just a shame to see that it could have been because I think from the squats, when you see someone miss their second and third squat and leaving so many kilos on the table, it kind of just said, okay, this is Carolla's to lose at this point. And it did make it interesting to see her miss 2 benches. But I mean, Leah trying to pull the 240, it was just a little bit too out of reach. And had she gotten 220 or 222.5 in the squat, it could have made it, it could have been hers, or it could have made it like, again, so that pull would have been a little more realistic or just within reach. But still a great showing from both of them. I'm excited to see Carolla at Sheffield. I'm excited to see if Leah gets the wildcard spot. We'll have to see what SBD says on that. But with talks of her cutting down to 63, I think that's a really strong potential there. So just excited to see both of them in the future, just continuing to build.
Yeah, Annie and Gabby got more in the tank. They were so close to that podium. It's got to be very difficult to be pulling for the podium, pulling for World Games, so close to making it, and the progress they both made. But it's tough. This is the World Championship, and that was a super close class, particularly to make it onto the podium. Obviously, the battle at the top, and then a spread, and then a battle for the bronze, and it was tight. It was tight all around. You make a wrong move, you make an error in attempt selection, and that's all she wrote. Let's go into the 69s, talking about a close, tight battle that we thought anyways. Agatha Shiko ended up running away with this after, again, kind of a mirror as Leah Bavois. Carlina Tongatea only going forward with her opener and missing her second attempt and then missing it again on her third. I had an opportunity to talk to Carlina a couple times, actually, did a couple podcasts with her immediately after the event, and she was surprised. She was surprised the strength wasn't there. And after that happened, and Agatha, who's going to do Agatha things, ends off with 207.5, missing her third squat, but that was only 2.5 kilos and never missed another lift after that. The battle kind of turned into a hunt, and Agatha Shitko relatively ran away with it. Now, Carlina rallied as best she could, missed her third bench press, but that was just 2.5 kilos off of her second, and then went 3 for 3 in the deadlifts, and it wasn't, her dead wasn't there either. Not entirely sure what happened. She's going to go back to the drawing board, take a look, see if she can make some adjustments. She thought going in, both her and Agatha would be around 620, and that looks about right. Agatha looked like she probably could have went full send, and Carlina could have went full send. I don't know what the future's going to be. I asked Agatha, who is like a wrecking ball now at this point, just running through divisions on the women's side, like stacked divisions like the 69s, and Carlina, who's a monster in the 76s, and she's kind of running away with it a little bit at this point. And she's hummed and hawed about returning to 69, about staying 76, or even flirting with going up to 84. Oh my goodness, what the heck does that look like? I don't know. And the meme went out, the Grim Reaper knocking on those doors. And one door was 69, the other door was 76, and the last door was 84. And then Amanda responds with the meme, I'm the one who knocks. It was, which is because Amanda's extremely confident, and why would she be? She's, multiple time best lifter and multiple time world champion, and she's won showdowns herself. But also want to mention in the 76s, Crane and Warford 585. Holy freaking smokes. Now, I thought this is going to be between Crane and Jess. Canada's Jessica Bittner, two-time world champion in 76s. Jess didn't have the day she wanted to have, and it just wasn't there. It is what it is. Bench was whatever. It is what it is. Jess is always going to struggle on bench. Her squat went down a little bit, and then by the time deadlifts rolled around, she needed around what her historical top end deadlift would have been to pull herself onto the platform. She finished off in 5th behind Sammy DePass of Jamaica, who's made some great progress, but Jess wasn't looking to go into 4th or go. She wanted to at least get onto the podium and then try to rematch these ladies come World Games and sort it out. I'm not sure the direction Jess is going to end up going, but 585 in 2022, when she beat Agatha for the world title, she should at least have that. And by now, I would expect more. And at 600, whatever it's going to happen with Jess, she's got to sit down and make some big decisions. Whether it's programming, whether it's a change of weight class, whatever it is, she's stronger than she's showing. She could do more than it just isn't turning up lately. And she didn't peak 2 years ago. She's still a young lady. She still should be enjoying her prime. I want to see what's going to happen with Jess, but I don't want to move past too quickly Crane, and holy freaking smokes. 585 already? And I'm told she's just getting real in terms of powerlifting training. Just now committing like she could have been committing. She was always training, but not full on drop the hammer, let's go, this is my life. Now she is, and just started in 2024. Takes American Nationals and throws on, what is it, like 20 kilos in a couple months. It's insane. And Joey Flex and Matt Gary told me, be careful when you're talking about Crane, and you're gonna get surprised. And I was thinking, well, how many kilos could you possibly put on? And I started throwing some numbers out there, and they were like higher, more. And they're like, it can't be more. And it was more. It exceeded all expectations. And for her to do so under the pressure of somebody like Jessica Bittner and a much improved Sammy DePass coming from Jamaica, the gains that she's made. I mean, you got Clara Perrault, yourself, Sophia, you got veterans of the game coming in, and Crane showed up and she did her damn thing. I'll ask you, Amelia, tell me your thoughts about the 76s. Then I'll throw it to you, Sophia. You had a bird's eye view, so to speak. You were in the warm-up room. I don't know how much you were looking around the other competitors. Not everyone does, but Amelia, tell me about the 76s.
Yeah, I'll work from kind of where you ended off there with Crane, and she had a phenomenal day. We kind of knew that she was going to be a bit of a question mark, but a strong question mark at that. I saw her do one of her last sessions, and she trains so casually, and she's just that natural strength, which is really cool to see. It's great to see every year kind of new names not just come into powerlifting full stop, but get thrown and thrust amongst the kind of veterans, which is really cool to see. So I know that she's going to have a really bright future, because ending 7.5 kilos below former world champion Carlina is a pretty good first world's run. Even if it wasn't Carlina's best day, it was a pretty good first run for Crane. Agatha and Carlina was always going to be a tough battle between the two of them. And again, we saw from Agatha something that's quite new for her, which is going, she went 8 for 9, but going for that near perfect day, which, you know, like we said on the previous show, we've only seen that 9 for 9 once, and it was at Sheffield this year. So it seems like she's really beginning to understand herself as an athlete, her strength, you know, her strategy. And that's a dangerous place to be, because she's so strong and she's still a junior for another year. Not just, you know, this year like Jad and Tiff, like another year on top of that, which is crazy. And you know, yeah, Carlina didn't have the best day, but I don't think it's, you know, end of the rope for Carlina by any means. I think it just wasn't her best showing. So I think that battle, should Agatha choose to stay there, go to the 84s, go to the 69s, you know, who could tell with Agatha? She's a real wild card with that. But if she does choose to continue fighting Carlina, then that would be really exciting. Exciting wherever she goes. I know that the whole reason she went back to the 76s was because she had, quote, unfinished business. And now, you know, is that business finished? Because she is now world champion in the 76s. And like you said, with the knocking on the door meme, is she looking to rally and take another one from Amanda, which would be super cool. But you know, it's definitely worth the mentions of definitely Jess, and kind of coming back and putting on a performance. And I'm interested to see what she does in terms of weight classes and pushing. She holds so much muscle. She's so muscular, you know. So I'll be interested in seeing what she does there. But Sammy DePass from Jamaica, looking super strong, and it's just kind of little by little been sneaking up there silently the last couple championships. And you know, she's continuously and steadily making progress, and you know, I'd be interested to keep my eye on her as well moving forward. But it was a phenomenal fight in the 76s, and I won't tell Sophia's story for her. I'll let her do that, but she
You
looked
can.
strong.
Sophia, she's no, you go ahead. You go ahead. Well, all right. Yeah, let's get into it, Sophia. You could tell us the vibe in the room and how the day went. And then we could talk about possibly the future, because we have questions where Agatha goes. World Games is coming around. Do some people do Worlds and World Games? The door could really swing open. But Sophia, tell us about it. How were the 76s when you were back there?
Yeah, like I found that each championships, obviously you become closer with some of the girls in your weight class. So I'm pretty close with Jess, so me and her were like next to each other when we were warming up. She was pretty like chill, actually. She was kind of vibing, which was good to see. I think Cranon actually came in like very last minute with what like to weigh in. She actually, I think there was some issue with her weight, and she actually ended up weighing in like exactly 76. Because there was a little bit of commotion at weigh-ins. Joey was like running around a bit and like saying that she wasn't like, because Cranon was second, I believe, on the list for weigh-ins, and she hadn't made it, so she'd missed her weigh-in slot. And then, well, she was like pretty close up near the top, and so then she came in after all the weigh-ins had happened. So wasn't sure what happened with that. But obviously it didn't affect her on the day. Like, she looked proper solid. I was very much in my own zone. I wasn't having the best day as it was. I mean, so yeah, I was pretty much just doing my own thing. But having seen like Cranon really surprised, I think, everyone with her performance. Even her lifts moved pretty like smoothly, like even that last pull. Great bench as well. Has coming away with squat gold as well amongst Carlina, like, is crazy. She's just a very gifted individual. So yeah, definitely bright future for Cranon for sure. I haven't actually watched back the 76s yet, because it's still kind of like hurts a little bit, it stings a bit, but having seen like bits of it, obviously Carlina missing those 2 squats hurt a lot for her, being on strength as well, which was surprising when we've seen her hit amongst the like 230s. Agatha, just like, what a day, like with that world record bench as well, like 155.5. That is crazy. And like, how are you even doing a spotto press at 170 in the gym? Like, how does that happen? And even like, even though we said her going back up to 76s might affect like her deadlift, it definitely didn't, like with that 250 pull. So yeah, if she goes into the 84s, which would not surprise me, she is like an incredible lifter, and just I can just see her dominating whatever, like whether she goes down to like 63s, I can see her just like owning whatever class she goes into. But yeah,
Hang
like
on, hang on. Even 84s with Amanda Lawrence, though.
I don't I so with the 84s, it'll be interesting to see because obviously I like Amanda just has been up the top for years now. I don't know whether she'd actually like dominate the 84s. I think it would be a massive battle, and it's a bit of a reach as well with what Amanda's like squatting and pulling. I think she could I think she could podium on the 84s, but I'm not sure about actually taking the crown from Amanda. Amanda is very dominant and still has more to give. She's still very young as well. Like yeah, I don't think she'll be. I support Amanda's meme there with her knocking on the door. But yeah, I mean I wouldn't put anything past Agatha at this point, seeing what she's already done. But yeah, 84 is a bit of a reach, honestly. I mean, with Jess, like it's such a shame with seeing Jess in fifth is just kind of wild as well. But
Crazy.
Jess has got a lot more to give. I think her training's been a little bit up and down. I know she like went in and out of different coaches and then trialing like squats in flats and then going back to hills again. I think all of that there was not much consistency of her training, which has probably affected the outcome a lot. But see, I would like to see Jess going to the 84s, honestly, because as we say, she's got the muscle mass there, and she does have to cut quite a bit every time. So it'd be really good to see her try and actually like fill out the 84s, which I think would be pretty comfortable for her to do. But yeah, I think 84s, if that does happen, if Agatha goes up and Jess goes up, I think it would be a really interesting 84s. Like already the 84s are like it's good to see, but like Amanda's already always up there, but it will be a lot more of a battle for those podium spots. Yeah, can you imagine if those guys went up?
The star power. Amanda would benefit even if somebody couldn't threaten her directly because her total's too big. She'll benefit from people tuning in to see the battle for silver, battle for
Yeah,
bronze, battle, and the star power of these people. Multiple time world champion Jess Bittner, now world champion Agatha Shitko, Sheffield champion coming into the weight class. Eyeballs come. Amanda gets more eyeballs, and it becomes, no matter what, it's a can't miss for her. So for sure, she'd be like, yeah, please do come up.
yeah.
And then, but then the
Amanda,
76 is, what does that look like? I mean, Cranen is a monster right now. Cranen's not moving up. She's found a home. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm super duper intrigued on where she ends. I can't believe in like a year and a half, 585 is wild. She could be 600 kilos on like year two,
what
because
is
she
it,
was
third comp as well, which
with
is just what like she hasn't
with
got that many comps under her belt, and she's already
oh shit.
totaling.
She was jogging. She wasn't running. Now she's hit the ground running for this one. She was jogging previously, half in, half out. She's an influencer, massive following, and that's you know gym culture, fit culture, 100%. But powerlifting wasn't 100% in on the power. Her followers probably wouldn't identify her as a powerlifter and weren't following her for powerlifting necessarily. Now, the fact that she won a medal at the World Championships, all of her followers were like loving it, and those posts, the recap post, blew up. But she wasn't fully committed in that sense, where it was like all or nothing, and she knows who everybody is and knows all the rules and knows all the whatever. And when she got there to Worlds, you could tell. Ran into her in the hall, was talking to her, and she was like, "Oh," you could tell it was like, "Holy shit, this is big." She could tell it was big. She got the feeling it was big, and she was like essentially like in her rookie year still, right? Well, it was her first Worlds anyway. It's not her first powerlifting year, but still very, very, very green to be at where she's at. And for her to be in that scenario amongst all these killers, and in that scenario in terms of the world championship, and if anyone was at Worlds, You don't get it when you're watching the stream. But if you were there when Jeremins was pulling his last deadlift and you felt what it feels like to be at Worlds, it's different. Yes, it is. You don't get it unless you're there. And for her to feel all of that, have Sheffield world champions like Agatha, Carlina, Jess, all in the mix, and to rise up and hit 585 is nuts. I'm super duper intrigued, especially if some of these ladies are going to shake hands and go different ways, which it sounds like they are. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
know. We'll see what happens. Adriena, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna run through all the results again, but I'll just continue the conversation with Cranon. I was so relieved to see her bench 120, and she had
Oh,
benched
here we go.
130.
Oh, here we go.
I thought I was going
We
mad.
knew it was coming. We knew it was coming.
I thought I was going crazy during the preview show.
You went crazy.
Because
Did you find it?
no, it was deleted. So here's what happened. I talked to Joey. It was. I talked to
Did you say
Joey.
it was 125, not 130?
It was one. I don't remember what was posted. It was on Sean Mill's like second page, whatever.
His
And
burner account. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Wheezy's burner account showed a massive bench press from her. It's like, how the F did this happen?
And it wasn't even the first slide. I just remember, I must have seen it pretty soon because apparently Joey reached out to Sean and was like, whoa, like delete that. Like dude, like because it was I think it was 120, it was either 125 or 130. And it wasn't even the first post. It was like a slideshow, So I'm like scrolling. I'm like scrolling through. I'm like just checking Instagram. I'm like, is that Cranon? And I'm like, is that 125? And then during the preview show, I bring it up and it's all of a sudden gone. And I'm like, what?
No, you're like, I swear to God, I didn't see this when I was dreaming. This is real. We were all in the group chat, like, find us this post.
Yeah.
And it was gone. I legitimately thought I was like going crazy. And so to see her like pop off like this and like, okay, her bench, like she missed 122.5. But apparently like she had some travel issues going in. So I think they had to be laid over in another country. So it kind of messed up her training, according to her coach, Joey. And he was saying like, oh, a few days out from competition, she couldn't squat or bench when it was, and it's important, as an athlete, it's that last week of training, you're trying to peak properly. So apparently she had to do like just squats in her room, like push-ups, like just get something in, right? So to like know that her peaking didn't even go exactly as planned and she still was able to hit 585 was just crazy to see and relieving to me that I wasn't like losing my mind with that bench. But I'm excited to see what she does in the future. Like I honestly think she was the like breakout star of Worlds, like to see someone at their first World Championships, and not even the first World Championships, but like so new in the sport, and like we'd said, just starting to go all in on powerlifting and hit this kind of total, go 8 for 9. It was just like phenomenal to see. So I'm excited to see her in the future. Carlina, of course, didn't have the best day. I really like a post she made though that said like people talking about her coming back for redemption next year. And she kind of said, hey, like I did all I could. Like she trained her hardest and it just wasn't there on the day. So I really like that she was able to rally back and still, she missed her last bench, but then like adjusting on the day, going 3 for 3 in deads, like just rallying back. Cause you never know if Agatha ends up, what if she get called for the bench rule, or what if she just fumbles the bag in deadlifts? You never know how it's going to go. So you can't count yourself out early. And then leading into Agatha breaking the world record, 613, just one of the craziest athletes in the sport, men or women. And I want to like continue the conversation of her potentially moving up into 84. I really liked what Amanda had to say about that on the podcast you did with her, the live one with White Lights Media. She kind of looked at the camera, and she's a dog, dude. So it's funny to see her get like riled up.
Yeah, I
She
know. I love it.
said, what was the quote she said? She said, "Congrats, you just won your first title. I just got my fifth." So
I know she's
there
such
it
a.
is.
I love it when she's okay. So she's like so nice and mild mannered. You meet her in person, and she like lives up like that. But
She's a
she is a
dog.
dog. She will not play around either. Like she will not mince words. She'll be like, she will be like, you did 613. If I did 613, you couldn't even console me. I'd be so upset. And like this is your top end is not, like she is like, don't talk about coming for me. Nobody needs to talk about coming for me. If you're gonna talk about 84, watch yourself. Like she is, and as you should be. In it, like I think both ladies are doing what they should. Agatha, I love the daringness of Agatha, the boldness of Agatha to be like, well, I need to straighten out Carlina. She's walking around with a W over me, and that doesn't sit right. I could grab my first open world title at 69. I don't know if I'm cutting back down. It's there, but I need to straighten something out. And she's a big game hunter. She went after Carlina, of all people. And now, if she's even thinking about Amanda Lawrence, like I love it. I love like and I love the gumption on her. And I also love the attitude of Amanda being like, don't step too far. That's one lily pad too far that you jumped, my friend. Stay where you're at. Have fun. Have fun. It's going
And
to be a whole nother experience. I love both of it. I don't know what's going to happen, but holy smokes, if that jumps off.
I'll add
Imagine that
into,
giving,
oh, go ahead.
no, imagine that giving Amanda more fire though. Can you imagine what now Amanda
She
might
yearns
like?
for it.
Amanda's already totally mad, like she's doing moving mad, but like she always has. She's always been up there. But imagine if this just gives her even just a bit more of a push. Like, not that she needs it, because I mean she's already owning it. But yeah, I love to see it. I love to see it.
She
I
said,
just,
like,
as a
I
fan,
want,
oh, go ahead.
well, she said, I want a battle like I had with Mello. I want a battle like these other ladies. I want it.
5 years since like she's been pushed like that. Like, I think just as a fan, I think Agatha, I don't think she would be able to push, even if she went up to 84s. I mean, I don't know with Agatha, she's just a phenom, but I don't think she would be able to push Amanda next year if she were to go up. I think she would need a couple of years to like grow into the total, but like her winning Sheffield at 69, going up to 76, like going back up to 76, I will say, just a few months later, hitting 613. It's like just the idea of a battle where it's actually close between Agatha and Amanda. Again, I don't think it would happen next year, but like say the next, like that's just exciting to even think about. I need to see Amanda push. Like just I need to see Amanda in another battle like that. Because I mean, she's literally, after Russ got unseated, no one else has been that dominant since 2019. Like, I can't think of anyone else. It's just her.
She needs her Jurens to emerge. She needs her, I don't know. Everyone needs something. Look what happened in the 83s when Russ loses to Jurens. It's on fire now. I made that post with those two staring each other down like two MMA fighters, and like everybody's all over it, sharing it, comments, people like, oh my God, I can't wait to see the rematch. It's even Russ himself was like, gotta admit, even though I was on the losing end, this is probably going to be way bigger and good for the sport. And he said it like that night. Next day, you see the social media traction. It's insane. Like it is. You need it. And for Amanda, she needs somebody to come around and be like, yeah, we're gonna clash, and people don't know who's gonna win. She wants it. She's not backing down. She's not afraid. She wants a clash. She wants to be pushed. And as fans, obviously, we want to see it. I don't know if Agatha's the one to do it. God bless. I love Agatha. I did a podcast with her, 25 minutes. White Lace Media's got to drop this fucking thing. I'm all over Ramsey. Ramsey, drop the footage, Playboy. But in that 25-minute podcast or half-hour podcast, she told me, she's like, I'm going 69. Nah, I'm going 76. You know what? I might go 84. And I'm like, Agatha, stop. You, yo, you changed your mind 3 times in a half hour. Where are you going? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, I know you don't know. I believe you. So whatever she says right now, take it with a grain of salt because she's flip-flopping and just trying to measure her options. But whatever way she goes, it's gonna be fireworks. I can't wait to see it. Shall we talk about Amanda in 84s? Seeing how we've been talking about Amanda in 84s. Here's what did happen in 84s and what the 84s look like. Amanda Lawrence doing Amanda Lawrence things, hit all of her lifts except for her very last deadlift at 265, finishing off with 642 and a half and 50 50 kilos ahead of Ziana, who came in silver, and then Danielle Philibert from Canada coming with the bronze medal at 555. I mean, Amanda Lawrence is so freaking dominant. This 84 kilo class, there's a spread between Amanda and then a spread after that, and there was more a fight to get onto the podium between Kristen Thorholz-Dottir, who threatened at the end, but by then it was going to get tougher and tougher. As a matter of fact, yeah, okay, she did threaten. I was just trying to remember how the battle unfolded as I look at the scoreboard, but really the battle was to get onto the bronze. Gold look was as assured as assured's going to get, and then Ziana taking that silver, and there's a considerable gap here. Amelia, what were your thoughts on the 84s?
I thought it was, again, kind of like the 52s. It was always going to be Amanda gap fight, and it kind of got a little bit more interesting as a story and a fight with a couple days out. Erlov obviously dropping out, who, if you think Erlov and Ziana are kind of the British Kiara and Sarah, if you will, their totals are very similar. They go back and forth a lot. I think that really opened it up, obviously, for somebody else to get on the podium because, there's a near 40 kilo gap between second and third, a 50 kilo gap between second and first. And it was kind of, and we were saying in the preview show, all right, but it's going to be Amanda, Ziana, and Erlov, and a real big shame that she came in injured, and her back was bad, and she said it was worse than it was going into Euros, so she had to pull out. But obviously she's still a junior and she's got a really bright future ahead of her. But Danielle had a phenomenal day, and it's really cool to see her get that podium position. Interestingly enough, I know that for total, no one's really fighting Amanda right now, but Amanda only got, I say only, she only got squat gold. She got bench silver and bench deadlift. And I think, she's going to grab those fights where she can, with Danielle getting that bench gold and Ziana getting that deadlift gold. There are people getting up to contention with her, maybe not for overall, but, she's not winning. Amanda Lawrence not winning deadlift gold is something, as well as bench gold. I think it'll be a while until we see someone fight her for that squat gold, but when we do, maybe that's when we see her Durans come in, and it'll be cool to see who that is. But it was really, really good, and that fight for bronze between Kristen and Danielle was really cool. It meant that as a commentator, as a viewer, we weren't sure what that top three ended up looking like, and it opened it up obviously for those two athletes to fight who they probably thought going into Worlds, probably up until the day, okay, we don't really have a chance of getting that third place spot. So it was a really interesting one to watch. And Amanda had a great day. We kind of knew she was gunning for that best lifter award, which she took on her second deadlift, from, I think, Agatha. But as we'll talk about very soon, Sanita managed to snatch that off her by, I think, over 2 whole points, which is crazy.
So I had the podcast with Amanda, and she had already competed and we were talking, and I was as well, wow, okay, you are as close a lock for best lifter like that. You know, a phenomenal showing, and she was in the best lifter position with only 84 pluses left to go. And so we were talking like, wow, 3 best lifters, Amanda. That's phenomenal. That's actually a record in and of itself. No lady has ever won 3 best lifters at the IPF World Championships. And also, by the way, that's when I mentioned somebody had dropped that meme with Agatha and the Grim Reaper. But it kind of, Amanda didn't really know what I was saying on the podcast. Like she wasn't familiar with the meme or wasn't visualizing what it was. So then think it was the next day, me, Amanda, and Amanda's mom had lunch. And I don't know if you guys met Amanda's mom. She's like so freaking nice, and it's like so cute. They like hang out together, do lunches and dinners and whatnot. So the 3 of us did lunch. And then I showed Amanda that meme. And then she was like, oh shit, I don't think so. And that's when Amanda dropped the hey, I'm the one who knocks meme from Breaking Bad. And I remember she was about to drop it, and Amanda's mom goes, honey, is that a little too, is that a little too aggressive, a little too assertive? Is it? And she's like, such a peach. And Amanda's like, Mom, this is what it is. She's like, someone's gonna come in my weight class. This is how I gotta hold myself. It was so funny to hear her talking to her mom about, well, is it a little no, Mom, I gotta do this. I gotta hold my ground. But yeah, Amanda did Amanda things. The rest of the weight classes, it's a fight for second. Like you said, the Battle of Britain, kind of like the Battle of Italy in the 63s. But unfortunately, Erlov was not there, and that would have been cool. She's got a huge deadlift on her as well. And she might be a future contender. Young, junior, still got a lot left to go. But we do need somebody to emerge. But you're talking about Amanda Lawrence was unseated for best lifter. And let's talk about who unseated her for best lifter. I'll throw this to Sophia. Sophia, 84 pluses. We anticipated a battle. We had one at last year's Worlds, and it might have been the best battle of all worlds. We had a battle at Sheffield, but this was surprising. This was surprising for me because Alexis Jones total went down. Not entirely surprising there. That can happen. First time at the World Championships. There's a lot of intangibles there. Brittany's total went down as well. And Brittany, I remember during the commentary saying, oh, she's opening lighter, she's finishing lighter. And then pacing wise, it looked like it was going to be more and more difficult for her to catch up. And then, oh my God, Sonita, with what she was posting up and the total she was building, did she out squat Jurgens? Like, just think about that. It was close, anyways. Was Jurgens 315 and she's 311?
I thought Jurgens did.
Or was Jurgens 310?
310.
Okay, so she
outsquatted Jurgens.
outsquatted Jurgens.
By kilo.
You think about this. She's a monster. She's so strong. It's incredible the total that she posted up. So anyways, let's talk about this. And of course, Natalie from Australia with the world record deadlift, absolutely monster polar as well. But Sophia, were you shocked by the battle, how it unfolded in the overall results?
Yeah, I think well, Sunita definitely threw us all off with what she was posting about her like injury, and she hadn't been able to squat much, and then she just like pulled 311 kilos out with her squat, which was just when I saw that 311, I think she like paused it like 3 times on the way up. When she pulled that out the bag, I was like, okay, Sunita's got this. Like she's coming in with full force, like looking fierce. And yeah, she completely like dominated that competition, like 731 kilo total, world record. Insane. Yeah, Brittany, I wasn't sure why, like obviously she'd opened a bit lighter. I wasn't sure if maybe she was like had a bit of a niggle or something like that. But still, like she had the deadlift world record for a minute, the 269.5, which was still insane pull. Like females pulling this kind of weight just like amazes me. It's so inspiring. And yeah, Alexis losing on body weight, well, still coming third. So all three of them going to the World Games, which would be really good to watch. But yeah, I enjoyed this. Like, it wasn't as expected, but like Sunita just really pulled it out of the bag and just like crazy to think she's even doing those kind of weights. Like, man.
I think she did what the French were hoping Leah would have done, with the second attempt being a PR world record, and then the third. Like, they were hoping Leah was going to have that day, but Sonita, my God, 7:31. Amelia, what are your thoughts on this? Were you surprised that she extended the world record like she did?
I don't think surprised. I think from what I remember on the preview show, I think maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, at least two of you, but I think all of you put Sunita in third. Maybe Sophia didn't. But
I had her for gold medal, actually.
Okay, well, that's not I'm gonna run the tapes. But either way, I think a lot of people did underestimate Sunita, and I think I was perplexed by that. You know, obviously she had the injury, or you know, had all of that to deal with, but I was kind of sat there like, have we forgotten that Sunita has squatted more than 300 kilos on multiple occasions? Like, I think it's, you know, it was silly for anybody to just assume that a new lifter was going to come in, as talented as Alexis is, and just go, oh, you're the first woman in, you know, classic IPF history, yada yada, to squat 300 kilos. Cool, I'm gonna beat you. You know, I think it was bold for everyone to just be like, yeah, that's gonna happen. So I'm not surprised with the day we saw Sunita have at all. I think Britt also did really well. What's really interesting is obviously Natalie from Australia walked away with 273 and the new deadlift record, was huge. But at least at some point in the competition, each of the top three held the world record. So Sunita with the squat, Alexis with the bench, and Britt with the deadlift. So it wasn't like anyone was lying down and just letting other people walk over them and take the championships. They were all gunning for it. And it was a really, really good battle. And I think just a few years ago, you know, people looked over the 84 plus class as like, oh, it's not going to be a big fight, it's not going to be exciting. And then suddenly, little by little, well, actually kind of like suddenly, like last year in Malta, the 84 plus was phenomenal to watch. But it was still kind of, okay, now there are two front runners and then a bit of a gap. And now it's, okay, there are three people fighting for gold, and you don't know in the coming years maybe who's going to get it. Obviously, Sunita with a huge lead at the moment, but based off of this particular meet. But then there's also a whole bunch of them fighting for, or in the realm of like deadlift world records, and you know, potentially getting close to the world record bench, because I know Amelia Merger from France took the bench record just before Alexis did. So from a class that went from kind of overlooked, and to be honest, for somewhat fair reason, there wasn't many fights or battles in it, to something that's actually one of the maybe most highly contested female weight classes, is a huge jump. And so it was a phenomenal session, and it's always good to now have, you know, the 84 plus and the 120 plus being a good way to end and cap the championships, because you know the last thing you want is to have like the 83s be like, wow, that was amazing, and then kind of fizzle from there. And it didn't. You know, the rest of the championships lived up, and it was exciting. But I think where each lifter ended reflected on how they were on the day, and I think it was fair game. And you know, well done to Sunita for not only winning but walking away best female lifter, which we know is harder and harder to do kind of as you go up the weight classes.
For sure leveled up all of a sudden, like in Malta 2023. For the longest time, as Bonica Brown every year. And it's not an intriguing movie when you already know the end of it. That's why they're called spoilers. And it was literally like watching a movie with a spoiler every single time. It's going to kill the action. It's going to kill the intrigue. The viewership, of course, for sure. Now, I mean, this is so close and so difficult to call. Britt pulled through on the deadlifts, but she's been battle tested and was coming in with 710, conceivable for around a 720 on a good day. Alexis Jones has done 721, conceivable that she could hit high because some of the other Americans came over first worlds and still hit high, still had big totals, but didn't happen on that day. And then Sonita, who previously Britt head to head bested her at Worlds, head to head bested her at Sheffield. And not only did Sonita get the better of Britt, but with all due respect to the rest of the competition, just crushed everybody. What we'd into the 730s, let alone we were thinking maybe 720. Even people who were picking Sonita have to admit 730 and up total. How many people would have foresaw that? And then, by the way, Natalie hitting a 280 kilo deadlift when she got home in Australia, no less, which is a hell of a hike. Getting home saying, wow, that world record was cool. I didn't full send it though. Let me see where my top end is. 280 kilos, 616 pounds. The 84 pluses are red hot right now. And it's unusual because in the outlier weight classes, the smallest women, smallest men, largest women, largest men, just by nature, the population walking the world is not going to fall in those weight classes. So to find enough talent pool to fill those weight classes and make it battles right through is difficult and odd. This is an era in the 84 pluses we might not see in the future, and we sure as hell never saw in the past. So we got to enjoy it. And to your point, Amelia, about what a nice way to end the world championships, 100%. As opposed to going out with a whimper, we go out with a massive bang. And Timur, not to get into the men's, that's a different episode, but Timur is slowly closing the gap on Jesus, and maybe we have the same end on the men's. But yeah, it's good to have a battle and not when you're done and the movie carries on and we're getting into, all right, this is kind of, we're rolling the credits here. We already know what's going to happen, who's going to win, what numbers are going to take place, whatever. It's nice to have this. What are your thoughts there, Sophia?
What with the 84 pluses overall?
84 pluses overall.
Yeah. Well, like, as I said, like Sunita, like I'm just always just constantly amazed by her.
Let me ask you this. They all clash again. Who's the favorite? Is Sunita by a country mile, or do you think Britt Alexis, who's hit 721, regains her footing? Or is it just like Sunita's performance was so dominant in your mind's eye? She's got to be the favorite, and we've reshaken up the deck.
Yeah, like posting a 731 total, that's got to be a statement, right? Like, and we've consistently seen her hitting like huge squats. Like, she's definitely got to be the favorite going into it. Like, if you're saying she's not the favorite going into it, then that's kind of crazy when you're putting up a 731 total. Do you know what I mean? Like, what else does she do?
has she made it? Is she returning us back to a Bonica era with that 731? Or are you thinking, no, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's still tight.
I would still back Sunita, honestly. Like after seeing that performance and like even seeing her previous performances where she's had stuff going on, like at Sheffield, for example, issues with knee sleeves and all sorts, and she still comes back with it and still pulls out like a phenomenal performance. Even seeing with this one where her peak was not what she wanted, like had back issues, she barely hit near her top end of her squat, and to still pull out a performance like that, like imagine if she has a perfect peak, what is she capable of? See, I still think there will be a good battle there with the 84 pluses. Like as you said, there's like second, third, fourth, fifth place there. Or it's good to watch, and I think it will still be a really good battle. And I'm not saying that like Sunita's gonna like dominate all the years to come, because I still think there's people coming up, and like, you know, we see Brittany hit more than that, and Alexis as well. So imagine if they're all on form. I think it will be a really good competition. But yeah, Sunita definitely made a statement with her performance at Worlds.
So that's what I was gonna say. Sorry. Well, let me ask you, Amelia. Do you think this is the beginning of a dynasty, or if we're gonna bounce this ball back and forth over the net and we'll see title change hands?
I think Sunita has a very strong foot ahead and a lead, but I don't think we're in a Amanda Lawrence Bonica sort of situation yet. I think, you know, she's made it hard. She's kind of set the bar high. But I wouldn't go into Sheffield, or I wouldn't go, well, I wouldn't go into it anyway, but, you know, I wouldn't see going into it, you know, or Worlds or whatever with the 84 plus and be like, oh, well, this is Sunita's. And I think Sunita knows it would be silly to do that as well, because as soon as someone is close and you take that kind of air of confidence, that's when people sneak in. We've seen it, you know, in the men's, in the women's before. So I think she is a very strong favorite, but I would never look past, for sure, Brittany. And I know that Alexis is super young and has a bright future ahead of her. So I think we're definitely in the crowning era of Sunita, and she's wearing the crown on her head. That was to do with wearing a crown, not being birthed, but maybe, you know, she's been birthed as the champion now. But, you know, too long didn't read. I think strong lead, but there's still a lot of fight in the other athletes.
Yeah, I think with the 84s as well, like as we saw last year, it can switch very quickly as well with those deadlifts. I mean, like last year at Worlds we saw even at Sheffield actually, ladies missing their opening deadlift on lockout and all sorts. So I mean, you can never say for sure that who's going to win with it. And as Amelia said, like I don't think that she's in her Amanda era just yet, but like with the other ladies posting what they've posted previously, but it'll be exciting to see what happens.
Adriana, build a case for Alexis Jones moving forward in the future.
I mean, all right. I thought you were going to ask me the same question. I was like,
Because I know
right.
you're going to build a case for her anyways. That's why.
Well, okay. So let's break down this class, and I'll end off with Sunita because like her performance was just crazy. Alexis, I thought you were going to ask me the same question, and I was getting ready to say Sunita's the favorite, and we are going to see all of them rematch at Sheffield as well, all three of them. So that's going to be really exciting. And I think with this performance, Sunita's the favorite, and her coach was talking about potentially 750 by Sheffield, which is just mind-blowing if she's able to pull that off. She's the favorite, but kind of like Amelia said, we can't count out Brittany. We can't count out Alexis. Alexis, this is her first Worlds, and I'm really happy that they were able to adjust. She did kind of open up in a post saying that, hey, the past few months, like 6 months or so, have just been difficult with external factors, not being able to fully prioritize training. She's been working a lot. Kind of like you alluded to, if she's able to find her groove again, get into the 720s mark, then she's still in that talk. Like she cannot be counted out. And same goes for Brittany. I mean, she hit a little bit under her best squat, I think by 5 kilos, a little bit under her best bench. She's hit 157.5, whereas she hit 155. And then her deadlifts popped off, able to get that nearly 600-pound deadlift is just phenomenal from her to be able to pull into the silver medal over Alexis. So it's like you can't count those two out. And this class was really fun to watch from all three of them, and even down to Jewel in 4th place, 672.5. She could be coming out the ranks. And it was fun to see. I mean, all of the top 5 went 9 for 9. Less Nadley, who missed her second squat, was able to come back and hit that. But like you said, ended off with that phenomenal world record deadlift. Putting that 600-pound deadlift on the world stage is just phenomenal. And I think she just hit 280 in training, which is like crazy to think about. But yeah, going back to the top 3, they all did what they could on the day, which is what made it a good class to watch, even if it wasn't quite as close of a battle as we would have thought going in, kind of like it was at last year's Worlds between Brittany and Sunita. It was still great to see. I mean, we got our podium of 700 kilos plus. That's never been done before. I mean, last year Brittany won with around 690 or so. So
Yeah.
to come a year later and the podium is over 700 is just phenomenal. And then Sonita just popped off. I mean, 731. She damn near pulled a Jesus. And to explain more on that, Jesus, strongest man in the world, has the highest total tested or untested in the Raw division classic. Sonita almost did the same thing. Tamara Walcott currently holds that top spot with 735. Sonita's at 731. So she sits in that second place spot, tested or untested, which is just
That's crazy.
you have to like say that almost 3 times. Tested or untested, she's the second strongest woman in the world. And I think come Sheffield time, she could very well break that. We could see her hit 700 pounds in the squat with 317.5, 318. It's not that far away. And considering she put on 10.5 kilos from this past Sheffield, which was in February, so just a few months later, coming and hitting 311 it was a phenomenal performance from Sonita. And even though she kind of ended up, I guess, running away from it, being far ahead of Brittany and Alexis, it was still a great class to watch. And I really, kind of like you guys have said, I really like how the 84 plus class has really developed as a division. And it's like a very exciting way to end off the championships. Whereas in previous years, it was like, all right, it's the Bonica show. Now it's like, okay, these girls are leveling it up.
So I want to play. Well, first off, I want to play essentially the name game. I'm going to ask you guys breakout star, biggest moment, etc. Just give me the name. Not a huge explanation. We're going to wrap it around. Just give me the names. And then I'll ask you the battle, the biggest battle. Give me the weight class. We're going to do it rapid fire though. Okay. And, but I will say, if you're wondering in terms of best lifter, yes. Sonita got best lifter, followed by Amanda Lawrence. And then I got the shit go. And US taking the title for the national teams, France in second, Italy in third, followed by New Zealand and Great Britain. US, by the way, swept world's men's and women's. I'm just gonna say, I'm just trying to rally some people up. So sort of.
We'll leave it at that.
Sort of. So anyways.
Oh wait, I want to add in too,
okay.
To kind of just add another accolade to Sonita's performance. If you go on Open IPF, like I know formulas are kind of like wishy-washy, whatever, but with her 123.9 good lift points, the only person ahead of her is Agatha. So that just kind of
Arnold's. Was that from Arnold's, Agatha's?
No, I think it was Sheffield. Yeah, it had to be Sheffield because she was at 69, so that's why her points kind of skyrocketed. But the only person behind or ahead of Sonita now, at least on Open IPF, I think Austin might have done more at the national level. I think like 124 point something over Agatha, but like Open IPF under the IPF umbrella, Sonita, and to do that as a super heavyweight as well, as we know, formulas can not be very friendly to them, is just leaving it there. Sonita, crazy performance. Hats off to her.
Okay, swinging around the table right now. Who made the biggest statement at the IPF World Championships in the women's division? I'll toss this first to Miss Sophia Ellis.
Sonita.
Amelia?
Crane and Sonita.
Oh, gotta be one, love.
Well, if it's a breakout performance, then I'll say Cranen.
No, that's my next one. Who made the biggest statement, period? Maybe it's the same for you. Maybe you think it's the same.
All right, Sonita.
Adriena?
I'm be boring. I'm gonna say Sunita as well. I just can't get over 731. Crazy.
Okay, let's do it then. Breakout performance. Amelia, I'm assuming you're saying Cranen?
Bold. I'm actually gonna, yeah, I'm gonna say Cranen.
Was there a close second that you wanted to toss out?
No, I was just doing it for the lols.
All right. Sophia, breakout performance of women's 2024.
I'm gonna say Marta.
Oh, wow. Finally living up, making it onto the podium, etc.
I changed my
Yeah,
mind.
Amelia.
I do have a backup. It was Plum.
Not mad at that at all.
All right.
How about you, Adriana?
I gotta go with Cranon and her 130 kilo gym bench.
Okay,
Doesn't
well,
exist.
here we go. Here we go again. Here we go. I want you to find that video.
Where's
Gotta
Adriana?
resurface it. How about this one? What was the biggest surprise for you? 2021 or 2024 Worlds, Amelia?
Oh, surprise.
Are we talking all or just women's?
Yeah.
Women's.
Okay.
Keep it women.
Right. Surprise. I to give us girls a second to think about that big question. I noticed that you haven't answered the first two questions, Ryan, if you want to do that.
Okay, all right. Here we go. I'll echo Sonita made the biggest statement because my God, how do you argue with the strongest woman in the world? And Walcott also did that not only in the untested but on a deadlift bar. I think Sonita could for sure take the title, do a Jesus Oliveras, if you will, and be the strongest woman ever tested or untested. And that is freaking exciting. And if she could do that at Sheffield on her IPF international judging, I mean, forget about it. She's already a legend by winning a world title, but so it's got to be Sunita, if we're honest. If I want to be like the contrarian, in terms of making a statement, I guess I could lean more towards I get the shit go for moving up a weight class, unseating a world champion, a weight class up, a person that had beaten her just a year before. I could say the statement that is to clean out two divisions in the same 6-month period.
I just
I had to.
I just want to backtrack to when I couldn't choose to. And
I'm not choosing to. I'm saying if I want to be a contrarian, I'm not choosing. Okay, Sunita. It's Sunita. It's Sunita.
Okay, Ryan. Now
just
just one name. Just one name.
Right. Okay. I just like to hear myself talk. In Breakthrough Star, I mean, frig, I want to be different, but it's probably is Cranen. I just didn't see it's just the wildest what she did there. You can make an argument. Megan Lee Smith's been around for a hot minute, though. Same with Plume. They've been around for a hot minute. Like, we all knew who they were, world's medalists and stuff like that. They're not, I wouldn't say breakthrough because they've been around where Cranen is so fresh. Coming out of nowhere, like, hey, how you like me now? I do 585. What? Hey, this is cool. Just kind of getting my feet wet in this sport. World Games is going to be fun, huh? It's like you're going to World Games now. Like you're beating, the people you beat to get on there. Yeah, it's got to be Cranen in terms of breakout star. But all right,
I've had time to
let's
think.
double check. I give you time to think. What are you thinking now?
Yeah, so I think a couple of, I mean, there were so many things that were inherently surprising, and there are also things that I think would be expected to be surprising if we didn't have these high hopes for the lifters, and we were like, that's amazing. We knew you could do it. So I think the two things I thought of very different. One is the fight between Leah and Carola, not because I didn't think it'd be a big fight, I just didn't think that's the way it would have gone down. And I think that surprised me in that. And the other one, which is so random, but I think it was Cesara Tavares from Brazil on that third deadlift that she came out for.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Where the second one didn't break the ground, and she came out for the third, and it was like the kind of somewhat sympathy clap, like, oh, she's and she pulled on it for, I think you did a post, Ryan, like 10 plus seconds, and I remember sitting there with Erla watching, and we were like, you know, and then she started actually pulling it and moving it, and we were going mental like she was pulling for the win. That was probably actually strangely the most surprising thing I saw during the women's amongst, like I said, lots of great things, but that weren't like, oh my God.
She's 48 years old. The second attempt, she left the platform as though she got injured trying to do it. The third attempt, I legitimately in commentary was like, this is almost ill-advised. You're going to get further injured. You're 48. You had not even close on your second attempt. I mean, it wasn't even close on the second attempt. And you limp off the platform and you come out for your third. And it's like, what are we doing here? This is, I was legitimately saying, like, this is crazy. This is like a waste of time. And I think it's ill-advised. And she started pulling on it. And it's like, yeah, that's what I thought. And then it started moving. And I'm like, what? And then it kept going so slowly. And I'm like, first to the shins, then to the knees, then to the quads, then holy shit, she's locking it out. And it's like, it was incredible. It was incredible.
If you haven't seen it, either, you know, Sophia and Adriena or anybody listening, go and watch that and you understand why. I think it's on King of the Lift, like, you know, like Ryan said, go and watch that and you will understand why that's in my top picks for most surprising moment.
Oh, it's amazing. It is on King of the List, by the way. You go to the webpage, scroll down a bit, and you'll find it. How about you, Sophia?
Yeah, definitely that deadlift, that definitely surprised me. When I saw her second, I was like, oh, there's no way. Like, even when she started coming out for her third, I was like, seriously, she's coming out for her third? That's because I thought she looked hurt going off of from her second. And then to come and pull that like she did, sumo as well, which we know sumo can be difficult to grind, and she came in and grinded out a sumo. Yeah, that was definitely surprising. And as you said, also, yeah, the 69s in the sense that I didn't expect Leah to miss 2 squats, and then I didn't expect Carola to miss 2 benches either. That really shocked me because that was a big, when I saw Carola then miss 2 benches as well, I was like, whoa, this could be like coming down to still the deadlift. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna just echo that. I think both those two are my most surprising.
Surprising for you, Adriena?
Honestly, those same 2 moments, the 69 kilo battle at the top and then that deadlift, since we got to pick one, I'll say in particular, Leah's squats were the most surprising. Please don't block me.
Sure. Never going to stay out of Paris is all I'm going to say. Stay out of Paris. I'm going to say Sonita doing 730 up was the most surprising for me. And I was flabbergasted. Like, first off, because I didn't think she would need it. Not sure she entirely did, but sometimes here in the world, just let the hammer fly. And it was entertaining as hell. Love that she did it. All right. How about this one? Oh.
One other thing that surprised me was my last deadlift overturn. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, all right. Here we go. She was patiently waiting for her moment. She's like, you know what? No, fuck it. I'm not going to bite my tongue. We're going to. Nice. How about this one? Oh, there it is. Nicely played. Oh shit, where's yours? Oh God, I'm the only one
I got
again
it.
without.
I'm ready.
I got caught lacking again. I gotta start freaking. Why didn't I bring shades? I had freaking weeks. This happened to me again. Anyways, cool dudes everywhere but me. How about this one? What was the best battle of the world's women's side, Amelia?
It's hard because some of the best battles weren't for gold. They were for, you know, for bronze,
Fair.
silver. And so I think if you're looking at it in a holistic sense, I think again the 84 pluses, even though Sunita ended up with quite the lead in terms of, you know, viewership and battles with Brittany, with Alexis, with records. You know, I'm not just thinking about for the world title, I'm thinking about all of these things. So in terms of records, we saw the bench record get broken twice, the deadlift record broken 2 or 3 or 4 times. I don't even know. I think overall the 84 plus, but there are definite honorable mentions for the 69s fighting for that third spot, and obviously Corona and Leah, and then the 52s again fighting for that kind of bronze position. So I think, in terms of overall 84 plus, but there are a lot of good battles below the head of the champion.
Sophia, what's the battle?
Yeah, I think the 63 between Kiara and Sarah, I think that was a really good battle just because of how tense it was throughout the entire competition, just how close they were between them. And then again, the 69s for third place, I thought was really exciting between Gabby, Annie, and Marta, literally just within a couple of kilos of each other. Just like, I think those two were really stand out for me. And also, well, the 76 for between Carlina and Agatha also was like, I was just surprised about Carlina missing those 2 squats, which I guess could fall into our previous one with the surprises as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd say probably the 63 and 69 between for bronze.
Adriena, how about for you? Biggest surprise?
No, it was closest battle, right?
Oh, closest battle. Sorry, closest battle. Sorry, I'm changing my
Or
question.
best battle, whatever.
Best battle.
I think normally I would always bias towards a battle that was for gold, but I think it was a little difficult on the women's side this year in comparison to the men's, because I would say the best 2 battles for gold were probably 69 and 76, but they just kind of were, it didn't feel the same as if they had hit all their lifts. Like we kind of had the same thing in both classes where the second place spot and Leah and Carlina missed early on, only going 1 for 3 in the squats. So it just kind of like put a dampen on their totals. But I would say best battle would be the 69 kilo bronze battle.
For me, I'm gonna say straight up the 69 kilo class that session. And the reason why, I know 2020 hindsight, we know Leah missed her last pull, but she's hit around there before. I think she's hit 237 and a half, 2.5 kilos up. It's conceivable. And when she came out for that final pull, like the excitement, I remember the crowd going crazy and watching her walk onto the platform. And then right before she went for the pull, she covered her eyes and said a prayer. I asked her, what was that all about? You covering your eyes? And she said a prayer, and she was like, see what happens. And I remember her stepping forward, and that's right up to the very last pull. When you get a battle for the world championship between 2 reigning world champions, and right up to the last pull, here we go. They load up the pull for the win, and it's 2.5 kilos over her previous best. It's conceivable. It's like, oh man, this is good stuff. And then that's for gold. I don't need to reiterate everything you guys have already said for the bronze, with all of these world-class ladies battling it out for bronze, and Chenner rising to the occasion, whereas Gabby and Annie both still having phenomenal days. Like they're all so good. For me, the 69 kilo class was phenomenal right down to the very last pull. And I still did like Gara Leah. And 2020 hindsight, now we know how it ended. But when Leah walked out onto that platform for that last pull, I promise you, you guys didn't know she was gonna miss. You guys
I think
were
if she would have hit that, like after having the squat session she did, that would have been the best battle. Like
crazy. Oh,
like
it'd be
comeback,
one of the best. One of the best, period. Like classic. Because when you're behind and you rally like that with a PR deadlift to win the title or retain the title. Yeah, for sure. But anyways, all right, ladies. Thank you for coming on to the podcast once again and doing the recap show. And that concludes it. For anyone listening, please do, obviously, as per usual, subscribe, give us high ratings, post it up in your stories. If I see it, I will repost. And until next time, 6-pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we are out.